What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Volks TV. We're still working on this thing. We got a little bit of work left to do before we can stab it in that car. I want to try to get as much stuff done to it, make it run, and get it going before we try to put it in there, because there is so much wiring on this car, or on this motor. I don't want to have to be underneath there trying to deal with it. I mean, this is the harness coming off the motor. Look at that mess. Look at all those wires. That's not even all the wires. There's still more wires in a box I haven't even looked at yet. So, you know, we need to get that sorted. We got the oxygen sensor on there. We got fuel injectors. We got sensors. We got all kinds of other junk in there. We got to get all wired up. And all has to get wired up for this. This is the, oops, there you go. This is the ECU and the relay board. This is the brain that kind of controls everything. Even this has wires on it. So we got to get all those wires connected in here, clean and nice. You know, we don't want to have them cluttering up the engine bay. We're gonna hide it all behind like a show car, because this is a show car. We gotta make it, you know, super nice. So what we got is this, and I know you've seen this before, but probably much smaller. This is heat shrink tubing, and I ordered a big one, but when you heat shrink it down, it only, you know, it's this big. It's like 1.25 inches or something. It's perfect for that harness. So we're gonna slip that harness into this. I'm gonna show you how to make it super clean. It's super nice. It's not gonna be mega tight, you know, so we can still kind of move that thing around. And then for the rest of the wires on the other harness, you know, we want to be able to take this motor out and pull the motor out without having to take the ECU down and all the other wires and all that crap. So we got these DIY plugs that we're going to use. That way all they got to do is just boop, push a button, pull it apart. You know, these are Mario approved. I asked him, he said, yeah, you can totally do that. So we're totally going to do that. I'm building a box to hold that ECU and that relay up underneath the parcel tray over the transmission, kind of where that Kafer bar was on the yellow car. This one doesn't have that because it's all on air ride, so there's not a lot of room, but in the middle there's plenty of room. So we're building a fabricated box to put that in. It's just not ready yet. I got to do a little more welding on it and a little more cleanup. But all that harness and everything is going to plug into one of these on the side of that too. So we'll get to that closer to install. But for now, got to get this motor cleaned up. So let's organize a harness. We're going to punch some holes and use some grommets, some heat shrink tubing. Here we go. All right, we got this bundle of wires. And I'm going to include the spark plug wires in here, and I'm going to include this harness that comes from, one comes from the coil and one comes from the crank position sensor, which is behind the pulley. That's the hidden system back there that Mario makes. That's what makes this whole kit like worth getting, in my opinion, because it gets rid of the distributor. So you don't have to have that ugly thing right in the front. Literally all you're going to see is going to be the throttle bodies. This I'm going to try to hide a little bit, and the fan, and that's it. Like, so clean. But we got to hide all these wires. So this and the other wire are just going to kind of tuck. You know, there's a little space back here. So they're going to kind of tuck back here, and they're going to join this group here, which we need to, there's a connector here for the coolant temperature sensor, which is our head temp sensor. We need to make sure that that plug doesn't get sucked into the bundle. But we're going to bundle in these spark plug wires here, you know, and everything's going to kind of run behind like that. So our first piece of heat shrink tubing, we're going to sort of cut it to be, you know, that length, and then it's going to go through. We're going to make a hole kind of low down on this, so that once that's installed, all those wires are going to come out, you know, kind of down here, so that once it's in the car you won't see it. So first things first, let's get that And you just cut that stuff with some regular old scissors from the kitchen. And we're gonna cut it a little bit long. I'm gonna go to about the middle, go to about there. And the reason we're not going all the way across, I'm gonna show you in a second here. Cuts just like so easy, just like that. Firstly, you don't want to do one big ass long piece because it might be a little hard to get all the wires through. And secondly, we're going to do something with those spark plugs that's going to require an exit. And these are all going to get trimmed at the end. Trimmed and labeled. Kind of do have some of them labeled. Just like that. Now we have this intake air temperature, I believe it's a temperature sensor. We don't want this floating around over here, so what we're going to do is kind of zip tie that back here behind. So I got me a bunch of these little black zip ties. It's one of my favorite tricks to hiding stuff is make the wires longer, zip tie them to something. Just like that. Okay, and we're not going to heat shrink this just yet because we want to make sure that we can figure out what's what back there, you know, before we do it. So we're going to heat shrink it all at the end. So that's that piece. And our spark plug wires are going to pull out kind of roughly there. That's good. And then we're going to make another piece that's going to go beyond. And what you can do over here, we can take a zip tie, kind of hold this in place. These are kind of short. I think I need two. That's going to hold that. You know, we got a good length on those other two. I'll get to you in a minute. Alright, so those are hidden. This is where we want our hole. Didn't bring a pen. I had to make a little bit bigger hole. Took a little doing. I had to figure out a bunch of different tools, but whatever. We got a nice big hole right there that is low enough down that you can't really see it from the front of the motor, especially when it's in the car. I mean, if you see a little bit back here, I think I'm okay with it. There's no getting around it all the way. But we definitely want it to be as clean as possible. So that's all going to fit through that 1-inch hole, no problem. So we got everything's labeled down at the bottom, so we know which ones they are. And so what we're going to do is scooch this thing up just past that hole, and we're going to nuke it so that it shrinks down nice and small, and that's going to give us our bundle. We're going to pass that through this hole, thereby making a clean escape. I've got enough slack in the ones that I want to hide down here I'm gonna wedge something back there to hold them, just so you don't see like the coil wire and stuff. But I got some slack back there to play with before we shrink this down. Because once this is shrunk down, it's gonna be kind of hard to pull them, pull them back out. Same with the spark plug wires. We left a little bit of slack that you can't see. We're gonna hide it. So let's shrink this thing down. This is the magic. I'm gonna zoom you in on the camera so you can see. Oh, it's so satisfying. Let me get my little heat gun out here. I'm gonna show you. All right, there we go. It's already a lot better. Still kind of hot though. So now we can push all that through. We had to wait to do it so that we could get it just right. Kind of get everything where we wanted it before we tighten it down. You gotta be careful, because once it's tight, it's hard to get the wires out. We can still get them out, and if I had to, I could take a little zippy and cut that thing up and start over. But we don't want to do that. Put all our little ends together. This is going to look so good. Wire management. Very important. Hate extra wires. There we go. So that's going to sit just like that. And now all that stuff is hidden. It's very nice. From the front, you can't see it at all. Like, it's completely hidden behind the manifold and all this business we got going on here. We're gonna do another one over there, but I got some smaller, because there's only 3 wires. There's the spark plug wires and the fuel injector wires. That's all that's coming out of that side. So we're gonna do a smaller heat shrink over there, which I don't have today. But you get the idea with this. So now this comes around. Ooh, look at, we made it possibly a little too long. It's okay, I can cut it off. Because what we want is for those spark plug wires, we want them to pop out right around here. So that this can be, we want that to be clean above the transmission like that. And then these will cut to length and connect them to the coil here. But I don't want them to come from way over there. I think that's maybe a little weird, huh? So we've cut it off to about here. We just stick the scissors in there and just trim it, and then cut it around. It'll be just fine. Then we'll zip tie the end shut, and then pull the wires out, and then we're going to do another bundle of them here, and this is going to come around to the ECU, which sits about here, just over the top of the transmission. So as you can see, we still got plenty of wire to play with. But let's trim this back a little bit and get that where we want it. I think I measured just a little wrong. That's okay. Put a little bendy in there. Perfect. Ta-da! So we got this nice covered up, waterproof, abrasion-proof, heat-proof sleeve here. We got the other one coming in. I didn't have any heat shrink tubing for this side, so we just zip tied them up and electrical taped them for now. And then we got this to itself here. This is not the prettiest little junction here, but I wanted to make sure everything was taped together so it's not moving around on us. Nobody's going to see that part. This will come up just to the, that computer is going to sit right about here. So we still have plenty of wire, but it's all nice and covered up here. So we'll slit this back where we need to, and then make it so that plug, I didn't shrink this part down. I just kind of folded it over and zip tied it for now. So once we make that plug, we can slide that in there and heat shrink around it, and it'll be, nice and tight, and then that thing will just plug in and lock to the box. This will be up out of the way. We'll use some of those little tabs with the zip ties that hang it to the parcel shelf. It's painted, it's super nice down there, so it should stick pretty good without having to drill too many extra holes in the car. And that's just a nice clean, clean harness back there. That's going to be, really nice when it's in the car, because we don't have to fight it, And then on the other side, you don't even see them. Like they're hidden. They're back there behind everything. It's terrible back there, but not as bad as it was when we took the other one out. The plug wires, they exit kind of right where they're going to be. Those I need to still trim and make. I got to put the ends on there because they come extra long, so you can do stuff like this. You can hide them. So that's it. That's that motor completely dressed, ready to go. It needs a piece of tin here that the other guy painted. He had to repaint it because it had a little scratch. But it's done now. I just got to go get it. It's in San Antonio. It's like far. But that's super clean. That's super clean. I would love to have this motor. I did for a little while, but I'll build another one. But everything's polished. Everything's nice. So this thing's ready to go in. We just have to plug it into that, to this little jobby here. And we'll do the same thing with these wires. We got to plug everything in here and give it power. And there's a whole pre-start thing you got to do. Wave the O2 sensor around and move the throttle, and I got to adjust this linkage a little bit. But you got to do all this stuff before you can fire it up, because you got to give all these sensors, like baseline, like carbs. When you're setting the carbs, you got to do baseline and then go from there. We got to do the same thing with this, which now we're getting pretty close. Then we'll fire it up, run it on the bench. There's no tuning like I'm used to. There's no distributor to tune. There's no messing with the screws. It's all going to be done on a laptop. It's weird, man. I don't know. I've never done it before. We're going to learn together. We'll get it tuned up, though, once it's running and idling, and it'll rev normally without popping. We'll stab it, and it'll go in, hopefully, pretty nice. We got to take all this injection stuff off again, and probably take this part off so that we can have a couple extra inches to sneak it back there. Then we'll put it all back together. This fan's super easy to get out. And then put it all back together with a little more access than normal, so it should be okay. And then it's in the car and it's fired up. Put the batteries and everything in here, and off we go. And then we get that yellow car back. Got to do a harness on that car. We still owe that guy brakes on the front. A few other things. I got to run some new fuel lines. I got to run fuel lines on this car too. Do that next time. It's getting late. But there we go. That's going to do it for this week. A really quick one, because my freaking back is killing me, you guys. I got a broken back. I'm not supposed to be doing stuff like this, but I'm doing it anyways. So I'm going to go inside. I'm going to kick back with a beer and just chill out and relax for the night. But at least we got this much done. Next time, even more progress. So you know what to do. Hit the links, check out the friends, comment, hit that subscribe button, hit the Amazon store, all that fun stuff. Thanks for watching.